let's talk about this equation right here. Delta G equals delta G naught plus rtlnq. But let's take a little quick detour and let's talk about, remember from the first test where when you're given the values of Q and K, which way would the reaction go, forward or backward? As you guys remember from my last video or videos in the past, if Q is less than K, the reaction moves forward to reach equilibrium. So to just give you a quick recap, once I know the value Q and K, then I know where, if it's going to go backwards or forward to reach equilibrium. And so let's think about this one equation that I made up where A is reactant, B is product. And at equilibrium, I have 5 molarity of A, 1 molarity of B. And so to find K, K is product of a reactant, therefore 1 divided by 5, and K is equal to 0.2. Now, let's say hypothetically, from that same reaction, I add 20 molarity of A. I'm adding more reactant. So my new Q value will be what? Product of a reactant. And so my new A is 20 plus 5, which is 25. B is 1, which because it didn't change. So my Q is 0.04. And so now, let's see it from a big overview again. Remember, this is from, I just rewrote the same thing again. So if you're given this information from the first test, you will know that the reaction would move forward. Why? Because Q is less than K. But then I'm going to plug in the same number to this equation right here. All these numbers. And so just a quick recap. When you see delta G naught, remember I said in the last video, that's the same thing as K. Correct? And so if I put in the actual value, and let's say, you know how delta G naught equals rtln K or negative, and let's assume R times T is 2. So the value for delta G naught is negative 0.916 plus, and when I plug in for this one, ln Q, I get a negative 3.43. I meant, my apologies. This should be negative 2.52. And when I add it together, I get negative 0.43. So delta G is negative 3.43. And what does that mean? Remember when delta G is negative, that means it is a spontaneous reaction which moves forward. All right? And what's interesting is this is exactly the same thing as this. And so I know this equation looks kind of weird, but my recommendation is this. View this as delta G equals K versus Q. And whichever one is smaller, it will dictate which way the reaction will move forward. So if Q is less than K, then we know that reaction moves forward. If Q is greater than K, then the reaction goes backward. Okay? So hopefully this will be a nice little summary for you guys.